Up. Our guest tonight is Mike Doherty, and he is the director on the board of the Children's Rights Council of Illinois, and he is also the Illinois contact person for the national organization, which is called the Children's Rights Council, and that is based in Washington, D.C. He served as the director of the Children's Rights Council of Illinois since the latter half of 2007, but he's also been active in several non-custodial parents advocacy groups. He has spoken on numerous talk radio shows. He's delivered presentations to university and civic groups. And most importantly, he's a single father, so he knows what he's talking about, and he's going to be talking to us tonight about his organization and what they do. So welcome, Mike.
Hey, thanks, Angelyn.
Thank you for joining us on the show.
Certainly.
Can you start by telling us a little bit about the Children's Rights Council of Illinois and what you do?
Well, we are a relatively new group. We got started in the last, probably early of last year, and it was a group of single parents. We had some single moms and largely single dads kind of just get together, start exchanging information about where our divorce processes left the situation that left our children in terms of receiving quality parenting from both parents and from ourselves as single parents after that divorce. And so we started sharing that information in meeting, and from that we decided to form this organization, and then we went through a process of looking for whether or not we want to be affiliated with a national organization, and we did some review and some fact-finding and settled on the Children's Rights Council, which is based in Washington, D.C. And so then we became an affiliate chapter for Illinois of that national organization, so we took on the name the Children's Rights Council of Illinois.
Great. And you said that mostly single fathers. Is there some reason why it's mostly fathers instead of mothers?
Yes, although the courts have moved to a more gender-neutral position than they used to, say 30 or 40 years ago, there has been some progress in being more gender-neutral in their determination of things like sole physical and legal custody of children. Predominantly, children after divorce are still the person who receives sole legal or sole physical or both custody of the child is still predominantly the mother, but more importantly than that, what a lot of people don't realize is simply because of how our society is, that following a divorce or separation, the parent who's most likely by a larger, even larger degree to be impacted in terms of being marginalized out of the child's life or to end up with a very minimal role as a parent is much more likely to be the father than the mother.
Okay. Can you tell us sort of briefly what are the goals of the organization? What do you do on a day-to-day basis?
Well, we stay awfully busy, I can tell you that. We provide a lot of good information. By that I mean technical information, synopsises of academic research, presentations to a variety of different organizations and individuals across Illinois. As an example, we have provided presentations to sociology classes at universities. We've had direct conversations with the judiciary at a local circuit court level and also at the appellate court level, and talked to them. We have had discussions with GALs, family law attorneys, organizations in Chicago. So we've met with the executive directors of several different nonprofit organizations in Chicago that are involved with both single parents and children and parenting issues. So a lot of outreach, a lot of educational work is probably the thing that keeps us the busiest right now.
Okay. And what are your goals behind the education? Is it just to increase everybody's understanding of a co-parenting environment?
Well, a lot of things have changed in the last, if you look back, we have to go back in time to understand where we're at. And if you go back to the 1970s when the divorce rate really started taking off in the early 1980s, the role of fathers was probably a lot different back then. It was more likely a father wasn't as actively involved in the day-to-day child-raising activities, care provided, although many were, and the family size was larger back then. Now you've got a smaller number of children per working couple. You've got working couples who are divorcing. You've got fathers largely engaged with their children on day-to-day activities, including caregiving. And this has been verified in studies. And yet, what we find is that there's quite a bit of lack of awareness out there that is indeed the case, that fathers are a lot more involved with their kids, and that there's a disconnect between where fathers are at with their children and where the typical judicial renderings leave fathers following a divorce or a separation. And so that's part of what we're doing, is to bring the judiciary, attorneys, GALs, and other intermediaries in the legal process, bring them up to speed as to what the current state of the research really shows about father involvement. And so that's one part of our education, is just sharing research information, and the other part is sharing with them some very progressive solutions to increasing the involvement of both parents in the lives of the children. So those solutions are, some of those we have come up with from other groups and by just through our own discussions. Some of them come from other states, things that have been instituted. For instance, just recently in Georgia, we saw a report that I haven't dug into it yet, but instituting mandatory parenting agreements be filed with the court in all custody disputes.
We have that. We have something similar in Missouri.
There we go. See, you have an example of something happening there in Missouri and in Georgia, but hasn't been implemented that we know of in Illinois.
Wow, that's interesting.
Kids First program in Des Moines, Iowa, and Divorce 101 programs in Elgin, Illinois, and Schaumburg that have yet to be adopted by other counties that are much more thorough than currently what's in place. And so these are like courses where they bring in subject matter specialists and experts and put divorcing parents who are in a custody dispute through a series of classes where they have to sit there and listen to an expert talk about co-parenting and what's best for your child.
Right. Yeah, in Missouri we have something similar. We have parenting classes that they're required to go through if they're going through a motion to modify or divorce action. And each parent is required to take that course. They usually set it up so that the parent each parent is taking it separately. They don't want them there at the same time.
Right. And in Illinois, some counties have already moved toward it, but there's still a lot of counties that have not. And then the quality varies, and that's where these public programs and the judiciary needs advocacy groups like ourselves, because you need a parent advocate group to kind of hold everybody's feet to the fire. Make sure that the terms under which both the laws that do call, as you may know, in Illinois, our 1977 Marriage and Dissolution Act, which was very progressive at the time it was written, which calls for the maximum involvement of both parents after a divorce. It calls for frequent and meaningful contact. We want to help the judiciary find the solutions that will make the implementation and interpretation of that law a reality that benefits the children.
So it's not so much about lobbying for new laws, because the law's already there. It's just it's not being interpreted correctly. Is that what you?
It's both. We feel that the interpretation of the law is a little out of sync with the reality of kids today, family structure today, and father involvement today. And we feel that there's some background reasons for that we can improve upon. Some of it is a lack of innovative thinking about, for instance, fathers having children on school overnights, which is a very effective way to raise the quality of time that a single dad after a divorce, a non-custodial father will say, or a non-custodial mother, for their involvement with that child that will benefit that child, and we have research that would substantiate those benefits. That would be one example. There are some other things that could be added to the Illinois law or have it revised entirely that would also be beneficial. Some whistles and bells that could come into it. We have a number of states that have revised their statutes in the 1980s, the 1990s, that eliminated, for instance, the rather the term visitation. Got it out of the book, so because children don't go visit a parent.